right, hello everybody. It's just now 12 o'clock, so we are going to get started. Welcome to AAC, Putting Aided Language Input into Practice. My name is Sarah Waldman. I am a speech language pathologist, and I am the assistive technology consultant in the South Florida area for Saltillo. Here's a quick little blurb about me. Like I said, I'm an SLP. I've been working a little over 9 years. I'm in the South Florida area. I am bilingual, and I just absolutely love what I do. In this next hour, we are going to talk about a strategy called aided language input. We're going to talk about what that strategy is and how you can use it. We're also going to talk about what your role as a communication partner is, what are the characteristics of communication partners, and what are their responsibilities. And then we're going to talk specifically about shared reading, which is a really great way to work on this strategy, aided language input. We're going to have some nice videos and do some practice together so that you guys can really get the idea and feel comfortable with that, and then put it into practice yourself. Okay, so what we know from research is that one of the most effective strategies to teach someone how to use their AAC system is to provide this aided language input strategy on their method of AAC. So this is a quote from a parent of a child who uses a device, and they said, modeling the device has been very helpful in using it for fun activities like games, your turn, my turn, and with picking words and reading a book. It's so very fun, and even the little brother uses it to say small phrases, so it doesn't make him feel like he's different. We use it to say hi and do you want to play with different neighbor friends, and they all think that it's the neatest tool and want to check it out too. So this is some nice feedback about this strategy and how effective it could be. So again, it's a research-based strategy, and it basically means that the communication partner or whoever is there with that individual is also highlighting or touching the symbols on their device while they're interacting verbally with that person. And the ultimate goal is to teach them language. So you have possibly heard of this and just maybe didn't call it aided language input. There are some other names out there that all mean the same thing. Aided language input, aided language stimulation, modeling, augmented language, partner augmented input. So these all really just mean the same thing. And so for the purpose of this presentation, you're going to hear me using aided language input or modeling, but it all means the same thing. So what do I mean when I say that they are touching the device as well? So if they're saying something to the individual like, come on, it's time to go, that's something they're saying verbally anyway, but what they're doing is they're also touching maybe go while they say that, or let's go while they say what they were going to say anyway to that person verbally. So this next video that you're going to watch does a really nice job of showing what we mean when we say modeling or aided language stimulation. So I'll let you guys watch this. All right, really cute video, right? And so you really get to see the idea that it's not just the SLP or the speech therapist or the teacher who is the one that is touching the device and teaching and using it while they're talking. It's everybody in that individual's life, peers, siblings, parents, and the benefit really is there. And so if you want to share that video with anybody, because it is a really nice way to very simply and easily explain it to others, it's on YouTube. You can just type in aided language stimulation, Chris Bouguet, and it's going to be available for you. They also have one in Spanish, by the way, as well. Okay, so hopefully that helps you understand a little bit more about this idea of talking and touching on the AAC system in order to teach it. So the research again shows time and time again that this is the best way that they're going to learn how to use their device. So if you're touching their device as well while you're communicating to them, the expectation for them to use it as well is there on their turn, and then communication is going to occur and progress is going to be seen much quicker. And it really makes sense if you think about how typical children learn language. So when we teach typical children to just learn to speak verbally, we speak to them verbally, and all throughout that first year of their life, we're just modeling words to them, right? We're outside and we see an airplane in the sky and we say, oh, look, an airplane, it's up in the sky, wow. Or, you like your cookie? It's yummy. And we just talk to them for a whole year before they're actually going to start saying those words back to us and repeat, right? And by speaking to them verbally, giving all this modeling and language, they pick up the words and start to become verbal speakers, and communication occurs. So we need to do the same with our individuals who use devices, right? And so we need to do this with constant interaction. So it shouldn't, like I said, just be the SLP or the teacher that's doing this. It really should be everybody in that individual's life, parents, siblings, extended family, peers, everybody, because it's through that constant interaction and really that repetition with variety of different contexts, variety of different scenarios, the different people in their life, different situations, that's when they're going to learn that language. So I'm going to throw some numbers at you, and this is just going to help show you the importance of this strategy. So if we think about the number of words that a typically developing child hears per day, research shows that it's about 4,000 to 6,000 words. Do you think we are modeling anywhere near that many words on a child's device? Probably not, right? Nowhere near that. But if we think about this idea that we should be providing the same amount of models, you know, with their system of communication, then we're really lacking in what we're doing. Okay, another one. 500 is the number of times that a child will hear the word before it might be a word that they say. So like that example I mentioned with, you know, being outside and seeing an airplane. Well, you might say that word airplane 500 times to, you know, a baby or a toddler before they say it back. They see it in the sky and you say it. You see it in a book and you say it. You are, you know, watching a show and there's an airplane and you say it. And so they're going to hear it so many times before it might be a word in their active vocabulary and repertoire. But 50 to 150 is the number of times that a word needs to be modeled on a child's device before they may start using it independently. So there's really, you know, a disparity there between the amount. But even so, are we even giving 50 to 150 models to these kids using devices before we expect them to use it? Maybe not. A lot of times we put these devices in front of them and we just kind of assume that they're going to pick it up on their own and they're going to figure it out. And, you know, you might have that kid that just, you show them once or twice and they just get it and they start using that word and they're just breezing through their device and it's amazing. But I promise you that's the exception. More often than not, the individual may need you or somebody who's, working with them to show them where that word is 50 to 150 times before you might see them initiate and spontaneously use that word on their own. Okay, so again, we will immerse a typical child in language for an entire year before we may hear them say their first word, right? Because we know that kids usually say their first word around 12 months. But for that whole year of their life, we're talking to them, we're modeling words for them, and they're listening to language. And then after 1 year, they start speaking. But how many times are we just placing a device in front of an individual and just assuming that they're going to immediately pick it up? Probably more often than we should. All right, so last one, I believe. This one says 36,500 is the number of hours that a typical 9 to 12-year-old has been exposed to or immersed in oral language, verbal language. Our research tells us that if a child is getting therapy twice a week for 20 to 30 minutes, it would take 701 years for the same amount of immersion of language to occur for that device user. Okay, so really we're just, all of these stats and facts are really just to drive home that point that we're not giving enough to these kids. So what can we be doing? We have to use the strategy of modeling, right? And so we need to be touching the device more and using it on our turn to teach them where new words are, to show them that it can be used to communicate, get that buy-in from them, and show them where, different language and words occur on the device. Okay, so here's another video, which is really great. It shows an SLP that is working with an older gentleman, and she not only models what she is saying on her turn of speaking, but she also models what he could say. So I'll go ahead and play that for you. Sorry guys, I'm seeing here that you guys are not hearing clear sound. I apologize, we did test this out beforehand. I'm not sure what's going on. But basically the SLP here is not only modeling, like I said, on her own turn of talking. So she's, you know, saying things like, you told me you're tired, and then she touched tired when she said that. And then she said, why are you tired? And touched the word why on the device while she said that sentence to him. And then she also was modeling things that he could say. So she was saying things like, are you tired because you had to drive far? And so she went and touched drive far. So those are kind of two different ways that you could go about modeling. Modeling you could do it where it's you and your turn for talking and you're touching things as you talk. And then you also can be modeling for things that they could say to you. Okay, so both of those would be appropriate, and I do apologize that you are not able to hear that very well or at all. Hopefully there's a couple more videos, so hopefully we'll get those to be better. Okay, so why should you do this strategy of modeling? Why is it so important? Well, what we know from research is that it is the best way that they're going to learn where the vocabulary is and to use it. But it also supports development of language skills and kind of goes along with that idea that they're going to choose their words more carefully. They're going to be slower in their selections. And, you know, that's going to be helpful because if they're navigating to different pages, you know, we've all worked with some of those kids that are just kind of like touching all over the device and hitting different things quickly. So if we do this strategy, it slows us down to provide that model, and it hopefully will also help slow them down and really select those words more appropriately. Okay, so moving on to communication partners. This is really important because the communication partner plays a really big role in order to have effective aided language input or modeling. So who is a communication partner? It's basically anybody that interacts with that individual that uses a device. So of course, you know, here we have SLPs and teachers and AT specialists. You're all, of course, a communication partner when you're with that person using a device. But anybody really out in the community, peers, siblings, parents, anybody who's interacting with them is a communication partner. And why a communication partner is so important is that what we know is that 8 out of 10 most frequently reported reasons for device abandonment have been said to be directly related to poor partner training or poor support. So a lot of you listening to this probably know how long of a process it can be to get a device for somebody, right? Whether you did it in the school system and you went through all the hoops and leaps to get it through school, or got it through insurance and, you know, waited for that process to get completed. It's so painful, you know, when we see these devices sitting on the kitchen counter or sitting on the shelf in the classroom or in their backpack. And what we've learned from research is that 8 out of 10 reasons that that occurs is because the person who's working with that individual doesn't feel adequately trained on how to support them. They don't know what to do to get them to learn how to use their device. So the role of the communication partner is so crucial and critical to see success and positive outcomes for that individual using the device. We also know some common traits of communication partners. We know that as communication partners, and we're all guilty of it because it's things that we may not even realize we're doing, is that oftentimes we take the most turns in conversation. Oftentimes we are asking mostly yes, no, or kind of closed questions. Oftentimes we're interrupting frequently to kind of move on with the communication. Oftentimes we're getting way too bogged down on the technology. We're focusing more on the technical side of things and not on that interaction with the child or the individual. And then we're not providing enough opportunities for them to communicate. And then on the flip side, some common traits that we know about for individuals using a device is that they're often more passive with limited initiation. They often know more than they can say, right? Because they don't have the means. They might be responding only in obligatory contexts. So, you know, kind of those goes back to that passive thing. They'll just kind of sit there until they're forced to communicate. Maybe they're only communicating for a limited number of reasons. Maybe they're only requesting highly motivating preferred things and that's it. And then maybe they have restricted grammar based on, you know, their language level and the system that they're using. So if we know those things about us as communication partners, and we know those traits about our individuals using devices, there's going to be some difficulty, right? If we're taking the majority of the turns and we're providing limited opportunities to these individuals who are already passive communicators and don't initiate, then we're not going to really see success. So the first thing that we can do is we can change our behavior as the communication partner, and we can change our traits and strategies that we're doing in order to see success for them. So that's what makes our role so important. So what we're going to do next is go through all 5 of these strategies and talk about how they can help to make sure that we are providing the best, you know, things that we can for this individual to see success. So the first one that we're going to talk about to decrease being the communication partner who takes the most turns, we can do a strategy to use wait time and look expectantly. So what I mean when I say wait time is that we're not just immediately assuming that they don't know what to say. Instead, we're providing at least 10 seconds of wait time so that they have an opportunity to answer what we're asking or tell us something on their own. You have to remember, a lot of these individuals who use devices, they may need longer time to process, right? Or maybe they need longer time to scan their device and find the word that we're hoping that they'll say. Maybe they need more time to navigate to that page. So we really need to remember that these individuals might need even longer wait time than just our other, you know, kids in the classroom or kids on our caseload. So I would say at least 10 seconds. And if it feels like you're uncertain how long 10 seconds should be, I encourage you to really count silently in your head because it will feel a lot longer to you than you may think. And so a lot of times as clinicians or parents or teachers, we jump in way before 10 seconds. And so if you can just silently count in your head, you're going to get a feel for how long 10 seconds really is, or maybe 15 seconds, and you're going to realize, you know, that that's what's needed. The other piece to this is we shouldn't just be giving that wait time and then kind of like looking down at our cell phone or writing a note on our paper or turning our back to them while we're giving that wait time. Instead, we need to look at them expectantly so that they know that we're giving that wait time for them to answer us or make a communication attempt on their device. Okay, so there is a video here. I really hope that there's sound. If not, I will do my best to let you guys know what's going on. Okay, so I'm being told there was no sound on that one. I do apologize. I'm really not sure what's going on. We had sound during the setup, and well, what I'll tell you is that the therapist working with her said, every time you want me to turn the page, I want you to say go. So that's what they're doing. They're doing a book activity for her to say go as they move along in the book. And she actually gives her 16 seconds of wait time. And she says, what do you want me to do, before she actually turns the page. And so I know that when I first saw that video, I would have jumped in sooner than the 16 seconds and been like, you know, remember, I want you to say go, and maybe given that verbal cue. Or I might have pointed toward the vicinity of the button go and given that gestural cue. But really, by providing that full 16 seconds of wait time, that child was able to do it independently, right? So that's really a good glimpse of the power of wait time. Okay, the next strategy is asking open-ended questions. And we are all guilty of this, myself included. I have 2 little kids. I find myself, you know, saying it without realizing it. But if we can just get our mind to, you know, change the way that we're simply phrasing the questions that we ask, all of a sudden we're going to be opening up the door for more variety within their communication. So, for example, if we're going to do a bubbles activity, instead of using a yes/no question or saying, do you want to blow bubbles? Where really all they can say is yes or no, we could rephrase it and say, oh, look, I have bubbles. What should we do? And just by switching it to that open-ended question, they can say, I want bubbles, let's play bubbles, open, help, blow bubble. And so we're just going to have a lot more variety that they can communicate if we simply just rephrase the way we're asking a question. And it gives that opportunity to increase language. Same thing if we're trying to work on like commenting or describing words. If we just say to them, ooh, did you like that? Well, all they can say is yes or no. But if instead we rephrase it and say, what did you think about that? Then they could say things like, don't like it, I liked it, boring, yucky, sticky. And so we're having an opportunity then to expand the kind of language they're using for describing words, action, adjectives, things like that. Here's another example. If we're used to saying, you know, oh, it looks like you want to be finished, but do you want to be all done? Instead of saying that, we could say something like, what do you want to do? And then if, you know, protesting or terminating is something that we want them to be using, they can say, you know, all done or finished. Or maybe they're not. Maybe they're going to say, do more again, or, you know, something different. So again, it's that idea of just simply rephrasing the way we're asking our questions. So this is a video, and if you don't have sound, that's fine for this one because it's actually in Spanish, and so there's subtitles. But basically, the mom is talking to her son, and she not only uses wait time, but also phrases her question appropriately. Okay, so he said, I eat, and then she said, what did you eat? And by having it be open-ended, he was able to go into and navigate to the food page and tell her. And she did provide really nice wait time for him to do that. Okay, so if you're sitting there and you're thinking, you know, I'm really not sure like what I would say or how I would phrase my questions in the given activities that I typically do, we have provided this handout for you in the material section where we literally help you kind of plan out or map out what you would say as like your script for yourself. We have some examples that are already filled out, like this one for you. So this is the example for bubbles. And like I said, we have all kinds of different core words and functional words up at the top that can be targeted. But then that purple yellow section is where the script would be, where you can actually just look toward that or write down your own open-ended questions to remind yourself to use those. And then what would be the phrases or sentences or words that you're hoping they come up with during that interaction. So this is here for you in the material section. Okay, the next strategy is active feedback. And so active feedback is something that I'm not sure all of us really think about, but it's super important. And it's basically where if they are touching their device and they're hitting the wrong thing, you don't want to just ignore that. You want to provide active feedback. So like if a verbal child was telling you something and it wasn't on topic with what you're wanting to talk about, right? If you're asking them, you know, to finish a puzzle and do the puzzle with you and they're trying to talk to you about Disney World, you know, you're going to say to that kid, hey, I hear you, but right now that's not what we're talking about. We're trying to finish the puzzle, so we'll talk about that later. So if you have a child who's, you know, getting like perseverating on iPad, or they're, you know, maybe they just have a mishit and they touch the wrong button instead of what they want to touch. You want to provide active feedback and acknowledge it. You want to say, hey, you know, I hear you, I see what you said, but right now that's not what we're talking about. Or, oops, I don't think that's what you meant to touch. I think you meant, you know, to go over here. So it's really that idea of creating that awareness and making sure that they know that we are hearing what they're selecting, even if it's not right. And then what's going to happen in this video is that she's going to actually shape what the child does in error by to make it appropriate. So she's saying during this book activity, like you saw in another video, she's saying, the tadpole laid an egg. What do you want to say to him? Do you want to say great job or that's awesome? And the little girl accidentally hits congratulations. Now, it was a total accident that she hit that, but the SLP is able to shape it as like kind of a learning opportunity and said, yeah, sure, you can say congratulations. You know, you can say congratulations when somebody does a great job. So that's another form of active feedback as well. If it's applicable to the situation, you can also shape it. So I'll play it just in case this one decides to work. Okay, so like I said, she, you know, shapes her mishit of congratulations. And then just like before, when they were having her say go to turn the page, this time she did it spontaneously on her own. And the SLP goes, oh, okay, go. You want me to keep going? Okay. So it kind of goes back to a couple of the other strategies as well. Okay, so the next one is making sure that we focus on that individual and really think about what are the things that they enjoy, what are the things that make them laugh, and what do they not like or dislike. So the reason that this is on here is because a lot of times we are getting way too engrossed in the technology side of it, and we really need to remember that the device is just the tool, okay? It's just the modality that they're communicating. What really matters is that interaction between them. It's the meaningful, valuable interaction that is going to create success for that individual using their device. And so, you know, if they are really into telling jokes or, you know, being silly, you can make sure that you target that on their device. if they're going to get a kick out of saying, that's stinky, you can program a button on there that says, that's stinky. And, you know, they could say it. And just like their peers, they're going to, you know, find that funny and get enjoyment out of it. And I bet you're going to see a lot more involvement and initiation from them when the vocabulary that's on there is meaningful for them, and it's going to be something they can enjoy. And then, of course, you know, you can then move on to things that are maybe less preferred, but the idea is that in the beginning, if there really is some resistance or they're not using it proficiently, making sure that what you're targeting and focusing on is going to bring them meaning and enjoyment. Okay, and so by doing all of these things, the wait time and looking expectantly, the asking open-ended questions, active feedback, and really focusing on that individual and what they like, you're naturally just going to provide more opportunities for them. By doing all those things, there's going to be more opportunity for them to communicate, as well as more opportunity for you or the communication partner to model and use this strategy of modeling with them. So when it comes to, you know, actually modeling, it is okay to kind of take that moment and think or plan ahead. Because a lot of times for us as speech therapists, this comes natural. You know, modeling is something that we do every day with all of our kids. And, you know, AAC users, it might just be kind of intuitive to us to do. Maybe not, though, if you're newer to speech or to AAC. And so, and those of you that are not SLPs, it is totally appropriate and okay to think and plan ahead. And it's also really okay and helpful to start small and build on what you're doing. So if you even need to make a small goal just for yourself, where you say, okay, you know what? All I'm going to do for a little while is model the word go. We use the word go so much in our daily routines. It could be used for transitioning in and out of different places. We're going to go outside. We're going to go to the bathroom. We're going to go have a break. We're going to go to the kitchen. You want to make that toy go. You're going to go to turn the page in the book. And even if all you do to kind of get the feeling of how it is to model, if all you do is make that really small goal for yourself of picking one word to start with, the more you do it, the more natural it's going to feel for you, and you're going to see how easy it actually is to use this strategy, and you're going to find yourself just adding other words to model as well afterward. But it would also be helpful to take a walk through their day, and that will help you to think about what words you could choose to model. So like that example with go, you know, a lot of people are stuck at home right now, so transitioning in and out of different rooms in the house, you know, go is going to be really applicable. And then remembering that that number of 50 to 150. And it may be that you have to provide that model 50 to 150 times before you see that individual initiate by themselves with that word. So when you're starting to feel like, oh, is this working? Are they getting it? You know, remember that research and the fact that they may be one of those individuals who just needs so many models before they're using it themselves. Okay, so what we're going to do next is talk about how you can model. So what can you use to model? In a perfect world, all of us would have our own device to model as well, but that's just not realistic. And so if you're somebody who is there with the device user, it is totally okay to use their device and touch the buttons on their device as your model on your turn of talking. But every once in a while, somebody using a device is kind of very possessive and doesn't want other people touching it. Or maybe you're doing virtual stuff right now. And so having another form to model is also very appropriate and helpful. So if you have our app, Touch Chat, that could be a possibility that you model on there. If you have low-tech boards of ours, one of which is in the handout section of this, the material section of this presentation, as well as many more varieties on our website. You could print out low-tech versions, and those are perfectly appropriate as well to use. And then if you're familiar, we have a chat editor program, which is a computer emulating software. It's free to download on our website, but you do need to have a Windows-based computer. It's not compatible with Apple. And if you have this downloaded, it would be on the screen and allow you to click and move through the pages, and that could also provide a model for them. And then when you think about when to do it, it would be helpful to kind of take a walk through their day, like I said, but think about daily routine. The last thing we want to do is make the device be like time to do work. It shouldn't be, okay, let's sit down at the table and practice your device, and we're going to have device time. The idea is that they learn that this is their way to communicate all throughout the day. So by thinking of daily routines that you're already doing, that you can just embed their device within those daily routines, that's going to be really effective and helpful. And so what we're going to do, although there's a lot of examples on here, we're going to talk specifically today about shared reading. And the reason we're going to talk about shared reading is because it's very language rich. When you're reading books with kids or individuals who use devices, there's a lot of language within the books. It might be something that they're doing daily or just pretty often every week. They're predictable, they're repetitive. Like I said, it's something that occurs regularly in their routines. There's not a lot of motor demands to do a book activity. And hopefully for that individual, it's something that's fun. Pick a book that's a topic that they really love. Are they really into fire trucks? Are they really into princesses? Are they really into Harry Potter? Whatever it is, that's going to help keep that activity engaging and fun for them, because you don't want it to be just a labeling activity, where you're going through pages and saying, what's that? What's that? What's that? Or tell me, what's this animal? What's this animal? The last thing you want to do is make it like a drill or question and answer only, because that's not going to be engaging and fun for them. So again, try to choose books that are of their interest, at least at first, and then maybe you can bridge that to some other books. Try to choose books that have repetition for those core words or those words that you're trying to model, so there's a lot of opportunity there. And then maybe that have limited text. So these are some good sites to check out. If you're not familiar with Tar Heel Reader, it's a good website where they actually have like PowerPoint created books that are very simple and basic. Here are a couple links that you can take note of that have repetitive books. So there's going to be repetition throughout the book that they can practice those words. And then you can also make your own core word books on the AAC Language Lab website. And then on our website, at the chat corner section of our website, we also have a lot of adapted books. Okay, so what you're going to see next, and I do apologize if there's no sound, but you'll be able to kind of see what the mom is doing with her fingers, is she's reading this book, Polar Bear, What Do You Hear? And she's modeling, as she reads, 1 or 2 words, and then eventually the little boy starts to also touch it instead of mom. So I'll play this for a minute. So she's saying zebra, zebra, what do you hear? And she's touching you. What do you? And she pushes you. And actually the little boy pushed you, as you can see there. And so this is the example of a very repetitive book, right, on each page. And she chose the core word you, which, you know, we know is a pronoun and a very functional word for kids to use. And that's the word that she chose to use. So it's not the animal that she's targeting. It's a very functional core word. So in your material section, you do have this page. And this is from our early books page on our Word Power 60 basic file. The Word Power 42 basic file also has this early books page. And so this is what it would look like if you're targeting brown bear. This is the page that you have. And so what you can do is pick a word to target in this very repetitive book and practice modeling along with. So if you've printed this page out, I encourage you to try it along with us. And what I'm going to do is, bear with me, I'm just going to open my camera so that you guys can see how I do it.
Brown bear.
Okay, so I'm going to play this video, and since there's no sound, I'll try to speak the pages. But what I'm also going to do is model on the device or with the low-tech board that you would have, what you can model along with. So she says, today we're reading Brown Bear, what do you see? What do you see? First, brown bear, what do you see? I see a red bird looking at me. Red bird, what do you see? I see a yellow duck looking at me. Yellow duck, what do you see? I see a blue horse looking at me. Okay, so you guys get the idea. I'm going to move along just for the sake of time. But that would be a way that you would just, again, pick one, maybe two words and touch it along with. But don't fear if you have a page that does not have a specific book, like the vocabulary in Brown Bear, because you don't need to use those. You can just use core words like these, which are going to be applicable on any book. So things like turn the page, read, look, more, again, like that. So even if you have like this core board that is not specific to Brown Bear, you're going to see that those words, like I just showed you on the previous slide, are still right there on the home page of a core board. And so regardless of what book you're doing, Brown Bear or any other book, there's going to be so many different words that you can target. So don't worry if it's not a specific page. Okay, so you do have this core board in your material section as well. And so if you just were on the home page of your core board, you can do the same thing. So I'll play just a minute because of time, and then you'll see what I mean. So she's saying, brown bear, what do you see? Or you could have them say, turn. Turn the page for turning. Okay, or red bird, what do you see? I see a yellow duck looking at me. So again, it doesn't need to be specific to the brown bear page. Okay. Okay, so some things that would make it easier for you to do is practice first. That's totally okay. Pick one word to target or two if you're feeling comfortable. Simplify them. They don't have to be, you know, difficult words. And just follow the child's lead like the mom did. If her child started to go for it and touch it himself, we of course want that. That's the ultimate goal. So follow their lead. Give them that wait time to see if they'll do it. And if not, just continue on. And then pay it forward. This is a strategy that not everybody knows about, but the more that you can share with everybody, the better it's going to be for that individual. I mentioned Chat Editor. Again, it's a free software that we have on our website, and you can actually create these visuals like you see here at the bottom of the book to remind yourself what word you're going to want to model. So that's a tool that you can check out. If you don't do Chat Editor, you can just make a little sticky note like this one for yourself. And this is a way that that person reading the book knows, okay, every time I want to read this book, I'm going to target the word on and model that. And as I said, follow their lead, what interests them. Try to repeat, but have variety. Define words if they're new. And, you know, those other multimodal ways are, of course, always accepted as well. And then just try to create habits, right? Even if it just means the device is there and out at first, it's about creating those habits to teach them that this is a way that they can communicate and just have it available for them and start small with it. Okay? So I thank you for your patience with the technology and understanding. I will open the floor to questions. Here's my contact info.